Hello, good evening. Welcome to All About High School Mathematics. We are both secondary numeracy coaches. My name is Esmeralda Fernandez.
Hi, my name is Ann Fitton.
We're just going to take you through some things that we thought you might want to find out about as your child goes into high school math. So one of the things we do have is a question and answer opportunity, and you will find the button to click on the right bottom of your screen. So if you click on that button, you will then see that there's a Q&A activity button. And if you want to ask a question, then it will be posted for us, and we will take the last 5 minutes of the session to answer any questions you might have.
We do have a poll running right now too, just to find out who our participants are, whether students or families. And so if you have a moment, please do participate.
So as teachers, we are bound to teach from the Ontario curriculum, and the curriculum document might be a place that you want to start as you look at what your child might be taking in math. We have a link for that in the chat. We also have a link for the continuum from grade 7, 8, and 9. So there is an expectation comparison chart so that you can see how the learning progresses from grade 7 to 8 and then to 9. They have the same expectations, but the material is different. So they keep on expanding on the learning that they start in grade 7, and then grade 8, and then grade 9. But there is a sense of familiarity in the progression of learning. So if you click on the link that is provided on the chat, it'll go to this screen. And in the screen, it has an overview of the course. So it talks about some of the introduction as to when this course was changed from the 1D and 1P into a 1W course, which is a D-stream course. It has some of the elements of the course in general terms, some of the considerations for program planning, so things that you have to consider as you are trying to teach different learners with different experiences. So that's the multi-language learners, there's special education, there's the idea of universal design for learning. And so just things that you should be considering as you prepare your course. The assessment and evaluation, we do have a link separate for information for parents, which we encourage you to go and look. And then if you really want to look at what is the math in the course, then that would be the expectations by strand. And the strand are the big topics that we have. 2 of them are more about the processes, so the way that math is done. But then we have the actual content of the math under number, algebra, data, geometry and measurement, and financial literacy. If you click on any one of those to see what's inside, then we have the overall expectations, and then underneath we have the specific expectations. And you can further investigate each, and just by clicking on it, and then if you toggle to expand all teacher supports, these are available to everyone, but really this is where teachers would go to get ideas of how to teach. So they have teacher supports with examples, with prompts that they can use, with examples, with sample tasks, and all of the different ways of accessing learning so that it's not just done in one way. And of course, encouraged in this is a lot of manipulatives and tools and representations, puzzles, and all sorts of ways to try to get at student learning based on their experiences and their level they are coming in.
So this evening, I'm going to start by talking to you about some of the math pathways that students can pursue when they're in secondary school. The first thing that I'm going to point out is the coding behind it. Now, we have on the screen right now the code for the grade 9 D-streamed math course, the MTH1W, with the M standing for the subject math, the 1 coding the fact that it is a grade 9 course, and the W coding the fact that it is a D-streamed course. Now, it's true that all students who are entering secondary school will be taking the same MTH1W. And in the OCDSB, they will be continuing from that into the same grade 10 course. The grade 9 and grade 10 will complete their intermediate math studies in high school. We'll have a quick look at the pathways that extend into the senior courses as well. But let's talk a bit about the Math 1W. So as mentioned, all students are going to take this course with the strands that overlap with the ones that they've seen throughout elementary school and expanding into more depth in grade 9. In grade 10, a unique course exists with 3 strands in grade 10 that lead to all of the possible outcomes that the students could be pursuing for their senior mathematics studies. Now, the arrows coming off of them indicate there are a lot of decisions that are made, but at the grade 11 level. And our focus tonight is around intermediate. You can see there are a variety of pathways that students can pursue based on their post-secondary interests from university, college, and workplace, but those decisions are made in mind with their end goals for post-secondary studies in mind. The idea of the D-stream courses through the intermediate studies in grade 9 and grade 10 is that the overall aim is to ensure that all students within our board can access any secondary mathematics courses they need in order to pursue their desired future studies and career options.
So if we look a little bit more about the curriculum for grade 9, you can see that there's different types of questions that are asked. And they get at the idea of patterning, they get at the idea of thinking about things a little bit differently. So the one on the left is some exponential rules, and they are free to come up with different expressions that fill in those blanks. And then on the right, you'll see a patterning, which is something that is started in grade 1, and it extends all the way through to grade 12. So all that happens is the functions just get more and more difficult. But seeing math means seeing patterns within the math. We have some student work as well, and the student work is based on the focus for this year. Centrally, we've gone to every single high school to promote the use of tools and representations, basing it on the concrete representational and abstract model of learning mathematics, so that we don't just talk about the abstract, but we use the representational and the concrete and the abstract in tandem to deepen the learning and also to provide access for the learning. So it works for students that are struggling in that they have a way into the math, but it also provides an opportunity for students who are good at the abstract to develop flexible models of the math that they are working with. And so here are some samples from students. So for example, we have the algebra tiles that can be used to explore algebraic relationships, but in a concrete and math in the hands way. So they can manipulate them, that's why they're called manipulatives, they can move them around, they can get different expressions. And so we developed then a representational model where instead of using the tiles, we can then use an area model for multiplying. And then we also can just do it in the abstract way of knowing what multiplication is. But they have a visual in their minds as they build through the algebraic processes that we start from grade 7 and on. So here you will see tiles that are used to represent the right angle triangle theorem, so that the relationship a squared plus b squared equals c squared will have a lot more meaning to them. And so once they see it, once they play with it, they can then manipulate the expressions in a much more visual way. So here we had a task where x is represented by a toothpick, and that means then they can actually create what x squared is, what x cubed is in a concrete way. They can compare 2x all cubed with 2x cubed, and that gets at the understanding of exponent rules, that gets the understanding of algebraic expressions, and it also gets at the understanding of one of the expectations in the measurement strand, which is looking at changing 1 dimension, 2 dimension, 3 dimensions of an object and its impact on length and its impact on perimeter for 2D objects, area for 2D objects, and volume for 3D objects. And then this would be just the patterning that goes from grade 1 all the way to grade 12, which you've already seen with the curriculum document. So we would invite you now to ask any questions you might have. So we'll look at the Q&A and see if there's any questions so that we can address those.
And while we're waiting to collect some of your questions, I'll just refer you to some of the things that we've already posted in the chat. The curriculum document, there's a 7, 8, 9 alignment chart, and some of the questions that we've had in previous sessions have actually been answered by that. Knowing what are the connections that students are making throughout their intermediate studies are well addressed by that document. We also have a link to the individual grade 8 in-person parents' nights that will be happening in the coming weeks at all of our secondary schools. So we invite you to have a look at all of those. So for those who have joined, thank you very much for spending this evening with us. We'll keep the chat open for another few minutes. Before we move on to our last session. So a question about the levels of math. In intermediate, everyone does take the same math course. What we can do is just back up to our pathways slide, because the selections start happening in grade 11. So all students will pursue the same intermediate math through grade 9 and grade 10, and they'll have the choice of all of the options to them in grade 11, which consists of the university, college, or workplace pathways. And with no further questions from this session, we're going to thank everyone for joining us for the third session. This final round will happen in another 5 minutes and will commence for the last version at 8:20. Thanks very much.